Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Lynn LeVatte, and I am a faculty member in the Department of Education at Cape Breton University. Today, our presentation is going to examine the role of hockey leadership to foster inclusive coaching practices within Atlantic Canada. I'll start our presentation today with a land acknowledgement that Cape Breton Island and Cape Breton University are situated in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the Treaties of Peace and Friendship, first signed with the British Crown in 1725. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognize the Mi'kma'ki people's title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. So today our presentation will cover introductions of our team, the research project, a little bit of a summary overview, and we'll finish off with some conclusions and recommendations for practice. As mentioned, my name is Lynn, and I am assistant professor in the Department of Education. My research interests include social emotional learning, health and well-being, and also looking at hockey and coaching leadership perspectives. Another colleague, former colleague with us at Cape Breton University, who is now at the University of Toronto, is Dr. Christina Phillips, and her research background as well looks at science education, social emotional learning, and curriculum development.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristin. I'm an assistant professor in the education department at Cape Breton University and also the department chair. My work looks at the intersection of policy and practice from a leadership perspective.
And my name is Shaun Ranni. I'm also an assistant professor at Cape Breton University. I am in the Department of Sport, Physical Active Living, and my research interests are in sport administration and leadership.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah MacRae. I'm a senior lab instructor at Cape Breton University in the Department of Communication and Languages, and also a current MED student and a graduate research assistant on this project.
Great. And I'll just add in, Sarah was very instrumental in helping us with the final stage of this project, our podcast.
So thank you, Lynn. I'll get started by giving you a little context into the context and purpose of this project. So in the sport of ice hockey, coaching has been examined through many different avenues and facets with an aim of improving player performance through some of those more technical skills that you may be used to hearing when it comes to hockey, development of skating, shooting, passing, that on-ice development. So when we look at the what and the why, why does inclusion in hockey, what does that mean? Why does that matter? One of our research goals was to determine some of those areas outside of skill development that were important for coaches, especially coaches within our partner organization of the Atlantic Hockey Group. So inclusion in hockey was in response to those existing gaps within the current education and training offered to coaches. Hockey Canada, as well as some local associations, have published reports or are interested in equity, diversity, and inclusion moving forward. The Path Forward, which is the first equity, diversity, and inclusion plan from Hockey Canada, includes a commitment to action statement summarizing the organization's ongoing work for long-term sustainable change within the hockey ecosystems in Canada. To contextualize what we mean by inclusion in this project, we share the following definition. Inclusion is accepting all people as equal, regardless of ability, ethnicity, age, religion, or gender identity, and ensuring that they have access to the same services and opportunities as everyone else, or in this case, ensuring that all of the players, for example, within the sport of hockey, have the same access to services that everyone else would have.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. So I'm going to turn it over to Kristin to continue that discussion.
So words from Denise Patton, Senior VP, People, Culture, and Inclusion of Hockey Canada, says we strongly believe that building a diverse and inclusive culture is a journey, and I have every confidence that the leadership throughout the country will decisively lead us in the direction we need to go on this important work together. And so recognizing and understanding that this is direction that Hockey Canada is interested in moving toward, and then connecting that again with the literature that says that understanding performance has become a field of expertise that is crucial for researchers and practitioners. So coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, scouts, and program directors, particularly looking at hockey skills, but they also need to be aware of the mechanisms that predispose hockey players to perform in key situations.
Excellent. So that kind of brings us a little bit to our project summary, which was a larger project we did last year. So we extracted some of the very interesting pieces surrounding equity, diversity, and inclusion. So this project was a funded SSHRC partnership engagement grant with the Atlantic Hockey Group, and we partnered with them to understand, I guess, and explore some of those critical pieces around social emotional learning, around leadership skills, and within this project, specifically looking at some of those areas of inclusive practice. So we conducted the study between November 22 and May of 23, and we used open-ended questions, which were semi-structured, and we collected the data at various locations through Atlantic Canada, primarily New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So the participants, we had 13 male coaches who volunteered for the study, and they had coached minor age players between the ages of 4 and 18. So it was a propulsive sample because we really wanted to gauge within those areas of minor hockey, those age levels, as well as having the coaches that worked and volunteered with the Atlantic Hockey Group. So Atlantic Hockey Group was integral in helping us to recruit some of those participants through their own website as well as social media. So the three questions that we really focused on to extract for the equity and diversity area, we looked at social emotional learning. So we wanted to understand maybe some of the behaviors, some of the self-regulation and empathy and understanding. What were the coaches' experience within those areas? And also if they had any training specific to those aspects. The second question that we posed were what types of actual professional development that they may have received outside of the skills and drills that we understand to be very integral for the sport of ice hockey. And when coaching young ice hockey players, we wanted to know what were some of the most challenging areas or barriers that they faced. And within those three questions, the responses that we received really kind of focused on this project and this paper. So I bring it over to Shaun. I'm just going to do a little segue. Within those three areas, one main theme that really emerged was the development and the need for inclusive leadership practice. And that really kind of created a little bit of a sub-theme under gender and players with disabilities that some of the coaches were not sure how to respond. And I'll turn it over now to Shaun to kind of take that a step further.
Thank you, Lynn. So I'll look at the project findings a little deeper. So the study was framed upon aspects of SEL, or social emotional learning. Thematic analysis was utilized to code responses and compile major emerging themes. For this paper, we focused on data collected specific to inclusion and leadership within hockey coaching practices. As Lynn said, one main theme will be highlighted in this presentation with two subcategories, one being gender and two being players with disabilities. So the main theme, which was development for inclusive practice, emerged. We interviewed 13 male minor hockey coaches from Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, and participants in the study expressed a need for training and development specific to coaching youth who had various hockey skill abilities, cultural backgrounds, gender, and language capabilities. While our participants tried to recall types of professional development they had received, many did find this difficult. So the first subcategory was gender. So in some cases, participants described the challenges faced when coaching both self-identified males and self-identified females. They felt a disconnect within the team cohesion process, as there were, most cases, two dressing rooms for the team, one for males and one for females. In the case with male coach for a female team, they felt that there was challenges expressed with motivation, behavior, and relationship building. The second subcategory, which was supporting players with disabilities, Underpinnings the participants' accounts of describing some of the most challenging aspects of coaching a player with diversity and disabilities. One of the participants noted, and there was others that had similar comments, that there are some Hockey Canada modules that address diversity, but they expressed a desire for more training in coaching kids with ADHD and other more specific modules. Participants also expressed a willingness to take additional training outside of what is required for Hockey Canada, and also a willingness to do this even outside of their own time.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks, Shaun. And just to add in one other area that was, prominent within the discussions as well, that will be in our paper. We had coaches that were involved with families, new arrivals to Canada or immigrants, that English wasn't the first language, so there were some language and cultural barriers as well in terms of coaching and how they may communicate with parents and what appropriate methods were available. So that was another very interesting piece in terms of inclusive practice and diversity within the players.
So our conclusions for this part of the project, really look at the critical importance of current professional development training across all ice hockey in Canada, as well as communication, inclusive practices, and the need for additional training and professional development that focus on communication for diverse populations and diverse cultures.
Great. So the next slide kind of wraps into some of those practical implications that Kristin just alluded to, and stemming from the conclusion from the project. So an increased sample size would benefit a broader range of input. Within this study, we only had male respondents, so it would be nice to have an additional study where we would have both male and female coaches to understand that perspective, as well as conduct research a little bit more specific to what types of SEL training that would be helpful for those leadership and communication skills. As well as a part of this project, we will be offering a small workshop with coaches, and we'll be examining some of the support surrounding effective communication within leadership roles for coaches. So that's something that's ongoing, and that was a result from the feedback we received. And the coaches also should have that educational background in terms of some of the basics around inclusive practice and diverse populations. Again, further studies to extend that would be great. I think that would both benefit the hockey associations as well as some post-secondaries. To finish off on some of the practical implications that we did recommend would be partnering with local post-secondary education departments or community colleges that would have resources to support educational facilitation, for example, with minor hockey associations. Workshops organized with partners, as well as some professional development opportunities, maybe both pre-hockey season and even post, to kind of reflect back on the season, and if there were things that were important that they needed to change or need to address, that they would have an opportunity to do that within the community. Also, peer mentorship seemed to be a common response that we had from some of our participants, especially some of our junior or younger coaches that found working with older coaches that had more experience within those areas of diversity and inclusion were very beneficial to them as new coaches.
So thanks, Lynn. Pardon me. You'll see Lynn's email there for any questions or discussions that you would like to have. You can email LeVatte at cbu.ca. And you'll see that this culmination of this work so far has been kind of created this idea for this podcast to mobilize some of the knowledge and the findings that this project has highlighted and that we've highlighted in this presentation. I was thrilled to be asked to join the project in this phase. The intersection of a lot of my work is at that looking at that relationship between communication, community, and connection. And as Lynn has highlighted, we created a podcast from this work centering connection in hockey and taking a look at what has defined success beyond the ice. So this influenced the name of the podcast, and on Beyond the Ice, Influenced by our research findings and participant feedback, we sit down with coaches, players, past and present, and hockey operations staff to chat about the importance of relationship building, effective communication practices, and leadership skills that enhances confidence, discipline, collective performance in the sport of hockey. We've all imagined, some coaches or parents maybe listening to the podcast who are from the practice or going to the ice or going to the rink. So it makes this information accessible to the community of people that this sport is impacting and influencing. You can find Beyond the Ice podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, or wherever you stream your podcasts. There are a few episodes up now. There will be more added to it as we progress. We really encourage you to check that out and to listen to some of these wonderful discussions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and my colleagues for participating in this presentation. And again, as Sarah mentioned, if there are any questions or comments or feedback, we would love to hear from you. And we look forward to those questions. Thank you again.
Okay.
I think she left the meeting instead of just stopping the recording.
I'm going to stop it.
So